There you go.
Sorry.
Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Latency. It's a thing. Hi, this is Lori.
This is Peter.
Now I can't hear Hamilton. I have to turn you up a little bit more. But we're with Action Heroes LA and Heroes Character Rental Service, and we're here to do yet another review for the night of
Dredd.
Dredd,
which is the remake, or not the remake, but it is the part 2.
Is it a sequel?
It's like the reboot. I think
The
reboot.
reboot. Very good.
Okay. Of Judge Dredd.
And it's actually faithful to the original comic.
Right.
Okay.
2018.
Yeah, there was a Sylvester Stallone movie. Was it? I forget when that one came out. The late 80s or the early 90s.
Okay.
Early 90s.
That was adapted from this comic called 2000 AD. This is a reboot that, as Hamilton said, is more faithful to the comic, and this was a movie Hamilton recommended we watch. I mean, you told me about this movie for a few years, and we finally decided to sit down and watch it. And you tried to say, well, it was just a really solid action movie, really good action movie that you were surprised didn't do better in the at the theaters. And so it was an interesting watch because of what's been happening in the last year or even the last few months in America, particularly and across the world, has maybe kind of affected the way I view this movie. Hamilton, I want you to start out. I want you to talk about that.
I still like this film a lot. I think they did a lot of things really well, and they did a lot of things the right way or whatever, for a film that's not like a typical, it's not like a Hollywood production. It was done outside of Hollywood. I think even for me, the irony of the uber authoritarian judge / cop, I think the irony is that it does make a statement about what we're seeing in the news today with issues like George Floyd and the murder of George Floyd, because it's not saying that it's a good thing. It's satire, and I think that's the thing that people might not pick up, is that it's done in a very sort of deadpan kind of way, But I think they captured the irony of the comic book really well. The comic book was always a little more blatantly ironic, but I think the world that this takes place in, the dystopian, hopeless kind of like world of gangs and crimes, gangs and criminal groups sort of controlling the lives of the normal citizens. I think that's interesting, and I think the Judge Dredd character is interesting in the way Karl Urban portrays him. I liked it. I know it's his face is covered, and it's a lot of grunting and talking with a low grunt. But I thought that's what Dredd is for me, And if you compare it to the original Stallone movie, there's no comparison. It's a serious effort to try to bring this whole franchise to life, and I think I wish there would be a sequel, but I know it won't happen because it just didn't have the success at the box office, But I liked it, and I thought at the same time it's interesting that you guys had different perspectives on it.
Well, Peter, did you want to get into how you view the movie?
I thought it was. I thought the judge was. I thought Dredd was the actor. I thought he was trying to play Sylvester Stallone. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I think one of the main things is that the cop being cop, judge, and jury,
Executioner,
and then executioner, because if he thought you were you were guilty, and it was a crime that the punishment would be death, you didn't get your 7 years to appeal and let everyone hash it out before, putting you to death. And believe it or not, I am somebody who I am very much for the death penalty. I just wish they would, for the most part, hold it to a 5 or 7 year, type of thing. But Dredd reminded me, I think, too much of the people that we do have in our not just law enforcement, on the ground, which are the police, but the district attorneys, who, no matter what, will hold on to one part and say, well, you're guilty, and I've decided you were guilty, and other people might, because of how I spun it, said you're guilty, so now you're going to pay for it with your life, even though they know that, they may be wrong. I don't think or as the comics put it, Dredd, in his way of handling things, goes just by the numbers and what he sees, and he acts upon that. And I just could not really get in the movie without being angry at the movie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But now, for the movie itself, I thought it was a very nice twist that the female partner for Dredd was able to, what would you call that? It's not psychosomatic.
What?
She was psychic.
She was psychic. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was born.
They called him a mutant. She was a mutant. They said.
Yeah, it's a post-nuclear type environment, and she had some kind of mutation that made her psychic. Yeah.
Right. But in there, she was psychic only to a certain extent. She couldn't tell the future, like a lot of people would think a psychic would be able to, but she could feel.
She could like read people's minds.
Right.
She could get inside people's heads and see what they were thinking. Yeah.
Right. But not deep. She would only go so far. Spoiler alert, that was one of the gentlemen she was arresting. She could only see what his thought was at that point. She couldn't see, as she saw later with someone else that he knew, something a little bit deeper, so she did not have the ability to go deep, but she did have the ability to see more than what they were saying.
Well, I want to bring up, because I think perspectives is interesting, coming from perspectives. Hamilton, you were familiar with the comic book going into any of these movies. You knew what the comic book was about. You told me it was a satire and things like that. And what I think, and Peter mentioned something that I'm kind of realizing, what Judge Dredd to me, I didn't know about anything about the comic book. I only knew there was a movie that existed that starred Sylvester Stallone that I didn't see way back then, because at the time we all knew what a Sylvester Stallone movie kind of entailed. So that's kind of like, I think, where our heads were at. This is like, so it's going to be the story. Sylvester Stallone's always the good guy, and he kind of, beats up on people.
Don't make me mad.
Who beats up on people, even though it could be a little skewed unjustly if you really think about it, but he's the hero. So going into this, that's kind of like what I'm expecting rather than what the comic book is really about. And so it's like, okay, he's the hero. I'm supposed to root for this guy. And he's this, like I said, this authoritarian figure. I wasn't expecting that judge, jury, and executioner, and he's monosyllabic. He's not, he wears the mask all the time. He's just this robot, really, practically, going through and just administering what's called justice in this dystopian future. And let me just bring about these are two judges. There's you have Judge Dredd and his partner, who happens to be a psychic mutant, who's she's training to become a judge. And they're assigned to go into this large building to take down this this huge gang run by a woman, and I love the villain in this movie, by the way, who's peddling this drug called like SLO-MO or something like that. And they ended up she manages to get the two of them completely locked. And this is a huge, it's a monstrous.
People who had that drug.
Was one of them Rosie Perez? And ain't nothing slow about Rosie Perez. No. But anyway, these buildings are like, you think of a housing project, a skyscraper housing project, and it completely locks down and locks the two of them in there with the gang. And also all of the residents. I thought there was a lot of interesting things about this film, but I didn't pick up on it being a satire. And because we have a lot of cops, the issue of cops kind of adjudicating their being judge, jury, and executioner. And we actually have seen footage within the last few months of a police officer doing this to a black man. It was like, I couldn't really, I don't know if I was supposed to be on his side. At first, I couldn't get on his side, and I'm thinking he's the main character. He's supposed to be the hero. I really like the female partner character, and her storyline going through is kind of what I latched onto and enjoyed. But just trying to relate to that character, not realizing he was supposed to be a satire and not supposed to be. It was kind of making a commentary on American police authority stepping over the line and administering justice. So, and until you explained it to me later, Hamilton. So that's what it's just kind of like a very difficult thing with processing a lot of stuff that's going on and what my expectations were going in. It was hard to kind of like really kind of dig in and relate to this movie.
But I mean, I think clearly Dredd is the good guy in this movie because you got cops who are clearly corrupt, who come up later in the film with this sole intention of whatever.
They're working, they have a price basically. They can be bribed into by the bad guys to take out their own partners and people they work with.
And I mean the fact that he's over the top with his authoritarianism, it just makes the story more interesting because this girl is actually being evaluated by him. And I don't want to give anything away, but this is what I was going to say. The author William Gibson, he said years ago, I remember reading, he said, good science fiction is really about extrapolating on what's going on in the current world, environment, extrapolating into the future. You're not trying to predict the future. And I think a lot of people, they miss that. Because I hear people comment on movies like what they got wrong in Blade Runner. It was 2019 and they missed the point. It's extrapolation. And this film, like what you were saying about the huge skyscrapers that are actually tenement buildings. That's like, that's taking something that's going on in the world we live in and extrapolating into the future, like the irony of like a whole skyscraper tenement, that's ironic and satirical,
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Yeah. It's not meant to be taken like, this is good. I mean, it's just, I get that. But like I said, it was just hard for me, him being the hero of the film. I just couldn't, root for him.
you.
And it's God, I was gonna no, go ahead because I lost my thought there.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to, because I really want to say this. In particular, I think the biggest irony for me in this film is when we look at the world we live in today with the cancel culture on Twitter. And like Peter mentioned earlier about this idea of these judges who judge you like right there on the spot. And I think it's reflective and ironically of the world we live in right now. That people do judge a lot in this world. People like Ellen DeGeneres just got canceled. I mean, the
honestly,
nicest person on TV.
Yeah, that's a bad example because
I know.
It really is, because there's a long history of her terribleness that has been talked about for a long time. If you knew if you knew people who worked in that industry.
Well, but a lot,
and that's the nature of that industry too. That's going on. But anyway,
I mean, Gina Carano got canceled. I mean, come on, she made a comment and it wasn't racist, but my point is that.
I just said Ellen was a bad example. That's all.
No, you're right. The only reason I'm defending Ellen is because I don't know her, but I've heard people say, yeah, she's not nice. But I wish there was more evidence than just someone accusing her. It's kind of like the Me Too.
That's just one person.
Okay, let's go back to the Me Too movement.
Well, I'll get you, like you just mentioned somebody else who got. I know there's plenty of people who like make a comment on Twitter and all of a sudden, I can't, deal with this person. It's like, you know what? People have a right to their opinions and having a different opinion.
It's like people on the internet play the role of judge, jury, and executioner.
That's a good point too. Yeah.
But ironically, like that's where the satire in this comes into play. Is it's a sci-fi movie about a world where the cops become the judge and the executioner all rolled into one, and that's kind of like the world we're headed towards. If we look at the world we live in today and extrapolate, this isn't too far off from reality.
No, it's what's going on now, which made it very uncomfortable. And I think it's satire is something I want to laugh at, and I couldn't laugh at this. And like I said, it's just
I mean, for me, Laurie, if Dredd didn't have a sense of humor, I wouldn't probably like it. I see the humor and things other people might not think are funny, like that whole scene with the he's got the gun and he says different words and then it's like
changes the weapon, which I thought was cool actually. So
then that did you? If that's not a Nerf gun, sir. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the exact same gun. Man, they didn't really
No.
It's the Judge Dredd special.
Actually, in Judge Dredd, they did use at least this part of the Nerf gun, and they had a different, a little bit different handle, or what do they call this? I forgot what they call it. But anyway, and I want to say this too, like in a lot of movies. Especially a lot of movies about the future, they do use elements of a Nerf gun in putting together their guns. Some movies that I have worked on, this one place they actually had an armory, and there are guns that are not for public consumption and will never be sold to the public, but we were able to get a hold of a lot of those guns and then dress them up so that you wouldn't know exactly what they are in the movie, but they are real guns.
Oh, wow.
Right. But, I wanted to mention, y'all, I thought like the slow-mo special effects in the film are interesting because they help push along the narrative of the story, and they also, that's an effect I had never really seen.
I like the concept of the slow-mo and some of the effect, but also at the same time it had a little bit of that video game, action syndrome. that I think because this movie was made about 2012, that would have been more of a novel thing. But at this point we've gotten too much of it now. But yeah, I just want to bring that up. But I like the whole slow-mo drug. I thought that was kind of a cool concept.
Right.
Well, as much as I panned this movie, I do have to say, one, when the comic was written, we would have cheered this on.
Yeah, I think watching it in 2012, I probably would have cheered this on.
Yes.
There's a whole shift that's gone on.
When the movie Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone was made, it was done a lot over the top, and
it was done camp.
Yes,
yeah.
and it made for me because I saw the movie. It made it not a good movie. It was not a good movie. I didn't like it. When he made Cobra, I wanted that movie to be so good, and it was terrible.
Well, I'm telling you, I saw this movie in the theater I was by myself when it came out, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that people associated it with Stallone. And the Stallone movie. Yeah. And I mean, to me that's sad because I thought it was entertaining enough that it should have gotten more of a reception in the theater. Yeah. When it came out.
I think if we would have saw this movie, or even if I would have saw this movie in 2012, I would have probably liked it more. Yeah. But still, there has to be things based in reality, and there's a part where one of the characters gets wounded, and they repair themselves, and it was not based in any type of reality, or even to think, this is going to be the future.
Right.
No, it's not.
But that's to me, that's reflective of the comic book. That's the kind of stuff they have in the comic book, and I like that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I can't.
Well, for me, it was a thing of okay, it was a great special effect. You repaired yourself in this manner, but you do know there are other things.
There are organs there that,
and
if that happened to you, they'd be gone. I don't think you'd be able to walk around.
Here's the thing: is Dredd is not, it's in color, so people don't let that. But it is very the characters have to be black and white. It's either this or it's that, and we get that throughout the movie, where Judge Dredd or Dredd is talking to his partner, saying, "It's either this or it's that," and the partner had even got to a point to where she said, "Well, it's this or it's that, and this is where I'm at." But I absolutely did love the end when Dredd. There was a gray area.
It's funny that you said that, Peter. Go ahead, because I was going to mention the same thing.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
He found a gray area.
That is an interesting point. That is a point. Like this movie, I thought it was a really well done movie, and I mean, story wise, everything else, acting. I love the villain. I thought she was great. I love her minions. They were traumatized by her too, and she's a person like you hear about her background who comes through.
Anything wrong?
She comes through a very traumatic background and becomes this horrible person. And I thought I really latched on to the female partner and what she was going through as her experience. She was kind of like the emotional center of the story, like the human you could relate to as you're going through this their ordeal. trying to catch this gang, to take down this gang. So I really, the whole psychic angle and everything, I really loved all that stuff. It's just like I said, I couldn't totally dive in and connect with the movie in the way I would have wanted to. And that's just because of current times, and like my expectations going in were a certain way that kind of clashed, and just that's made it that way with me.
I wanted to add to what Peter just said about the gray area, because
that's a really great point, and it's a moment I enjoyed, and I never related it. That's a great explanation for it. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Ham. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I thought that gray area is that's what helped me make the suspension of disbelief and really enjoy the film, is that the way they portray evil, it's not black or white. There's like a nuances.
Mm-hmm.
There's interesting nuances. Like there's characters like the hacker character who, you find out he really doesn't want to do what he's doing, but he has to because he's in fear of losing his life. And I've never really seen that in a movie of this caliber.
That kind of this type of movie,
sci-fi action movie on a lower budget. Mm-hmm. But I thought they did a really good job of balancing that nuance of the characters. I like Woody Harris. I'm a fan of Woody Harris.
Oh, yeah.
I was glad to see him. I just thought
not
the
Dave
acting
Chappelle.
was good overall. I thought overall all the actors were competent in this film.
Yeah.
Even I know you said, Peter, you didn't really like the main actor, but I like Karl Urban. So it was.
Yeah, I mean,
Karl Urban. Yeah.
I mean, he's playing this kind of emotionless machine, and even so, and that's what he did. But even so, you still kind of want something. For me, I still needed something to kind of connect to him in some kind of in a way that it just wasn't there for me, and so
yeah. Well, for me, I immediately wanted to like him, and I think the problem is that I visually kept looking at him and staring at him, and he was Sylvester Stallone and had this frown on his face, and it's just like, okay, dude, this is too much. And it was like he wasn't trying to be the character, he was trying to be Sylvester Stallone as the character.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about the comic book Dredd, and maybe that's the irony, is if you read the comic, you would see like he did a good job of bringing that character to life.
I couldn't see Sylvester Stallone playing this part, honestly.
No.
I couldn't. No, I don't.
Well, obviously, a lot of other people couldn't either.
Okay.
To me, it's not fair to even compare the two films. One is very kind of cookie cutter cardboard, and the other has a lot of dimensionality to it. And I don't know. I think it's unfair, really, that even people would even associate the two films. They're so different, and that's why I was so disappointed when it didn't do well at the box office, because it should have gotten more of a chance to get an audience in the theater. It's a competent film, and it came out in a year when I don't think there was a lot of great films for that blockbuster summer that I remember. It came out in September of that year, 2012. And I guess it was one of the best films I saw that year, or that summer. So,
well, then you must not have seen that movie that Rosie Perez was in. In 2012, she was the star. I forget the name of it, but wait a minute, that wasn't.
I don't know.
I was gonna.
I know you're a Rosie Perez critic, but I don't think
Sylvester Stallone was miscast. Rosie Perez should have been Dredd.
Yes. It would have been a blockbuster.
Oh my god.
Well, she should have been in this film, maybe. I don't know.
Well, wait, I thought she was the psychic cop. But who was the psychic cop if Rosie Perez wasn't the psychic cop?
Oh man. All right,
Speaking of which, I want to give credit to Olivia Thirlby, the psychic cop.
I really enjoyed her character.
She deserves to be given more for work in Hollywood.
Yeah, I actually, after watching this, is like, who is that? She was, I really.
I thought it was Rosie Perez.
Oh God, it's just I'm gonna kick you over. No, but it's like, who is this actress? What else has she been in? Because I really enjoyed her performance. She was the character I related to. I'm related to the villain and stuff, and who was sufficiently. Who was it? And who was played the villain? I forgot. She's pretty well.
Rosie Perez.
No. I forgot her name. Right
I forgot. I know she's pretty known.
Right.
And stuff.
The villain was excellent as well, and you don't see her very much. A lot of the actors in this film, you don't see them.
Yeah.
In other films,
I've seen her, but anyway.
No, there was one thing that you said about that I thought the directors did very well. One, the city was a cookie cutter.
Lena Headly, that's her.
It was, the tenements and, just complete lowlifes.
But I mean cookie cutter in the sense that, like, it feels like a cardboard facade in the original Dredd movie. And this one was it had a lot of dimensionality. It felt like a real world with a lot of stuff going on that we weren't necessarily
Well, you see, for me, in props, the look was very cookie cutter of the city. I don't mean
that's intentional, though.
Yeah, it's very intentional. But then the directors then made it dimensional within these cookie cutter buildings.
I like the little details, Peter. Like, there's a scene where they show like the outside of the tenement, and it's these kids skateboarding back and forth, and stuff like that. Just made it feel like this is a real world to me.
Yes.
Like it
didn't feel too far off from downtown LA at a certain time period not long ago.
Yeah,
and just a little bit high. I was like, this, and then, like I said, that it might have been a little too close to what home for me.
I
just
sent
like
you guys a video recently, but I saw something that kind of summed up how I feel about this movie. I saw this video of these black kids in downtown LA, and they were like dancing to like Caribbean merengue music and Mexican music. But they were doing it really well, but it was also they had a very they were crip walking and stuff.
Yeah, you sent that out. Yeah.
To me, that's what this movie is. It takes the whole idea of the world we live in, it extrapolates it into the future, and it creates something different and new that we haven't really seen.
I will give you that because it had. I think in a lot of poor areas, when they try to do this in movies, they don't really portray the people as being real people and having families and lives and riding skateboards, even though they're poor and crime is all over the place and all these murders and killings are going. I agree with that the movie does that really well. Like I said, there's a lot of things I liked about the movie. It's just like it's just these, the elements that threw me off and made me not be able to connect in a way I would have maybe 8 years ago. That's all. And
I agree with that. I mean, that's the irony is, shoot, man, I was telling you about John Kricfalusi and Ren and Stimpy, and it's like I used to love Ren and Stimpy, but at a certain point, something happened that changed that for me. And when I found out about things he had done as a person. And it's the same thing with this. It's like a film that you might have liked in the past because things have changed.
Yeah, my views have changed about, kind of portraying certain things like that and stuff. It's like, okay, I would have thought of it as extreme in the past. And so it's like, okay, this is kind of a heightened reality type of thing and stuff. And that's trying to make a comment about current times. But it's like our reality looks like this now, too much like this now that I can't.
But I don't know. Maybe that's why I think it's successful at the end of the day. It's like it was made almost 10 years ago, and the world we live in today is kind of scary in that there's a lot of similarities and a lot of parallels to draw. And I think that's what, to me, what makes a film successful. If it can make commentary that holds up, almost 10 years later. in some way, in a way that you said makes you uncomfortable, even. You know?
Yeah. Well,
I want to touch on something that Hamilton said. Now, you said that there were these people out in front of the tenement who predominantly where you had your Hispanics or your Mexicans, and they're from Mexico, and then you had your blacks and your Jamaicans, and we know they're from Africa and Caribbean and stuff like this. Where are the merengues from?
That's a type of
that's a
Caribbean
dance
style
of music. Right?
It's like a beat, and it's I don't know that much about it. I'm just telling you that I was reading in the comments.
No, you were just doing that.
Well, see, I thought y'all was teaching me some new historical.
No, I'm trying to say that one thing they did really well.
I went straight
to
geography.
Kind of like, no.
When you see a science fiction movie and like you see people of color and they're able to create a something that's reflective of the world we live in, but you see people skateboarding, so it's in the future. Okay, for example, like one thing I like about Avatar. Avatar is like way in the future or whatever, but it looked like the world we live in, but they changed enough details that it kind of has a freshness.
Is it anything like Star Trek and what the Klingons? Where are they from?
Klingons?
No. It's not that.
I'm trying to find out where these merengues are.
Oh, God.
Oh. Like little merengue pie, you never had a merengue?
Yeah. Oh.
Who's that not
They from the island. They from the island merengue.
Oh.
I think so. I don't know.
Meringue. Yeah, that's where they from.
Merengues are from Meringue, the island of Meringue. It's
but
very.
I know we should wrap this up.
Yeah, we're pushing like we're getting on 40 minutes. I did want one last thing I wanted to mention, and this is just the design, kind of maybe in your area props thing. I did not like how his design of his helmets. I know that's how the helmet was supposed to look, and it's how it is in the comics. But to me, it struck me as one of those things that looks good on 2D on paper, but the way they built it out for the movie, it just looked really odd and awkward, and I kind of wish they would have kind of streamlined it a little bit.
Yeah. But the M is for Metro.
The M, I thought it was an X.
Well, that's because the kid didn't stay in the line.
Oh my God, no. Let's wrap this up. All right, so this is our 40-minute review of Dredd. Which, is an interesting conversation to have about this movie because it's our reactions are so different. And I think because it's kind of reflective of present times and it's a movie about the future, kind of a futuristic movie that, our future kind of seems really be replicating right now. And, I didn't get any positive vibes about it or felt like, oh my goodness, I think, one of the things, I'm going on longer than this movie, because this is something I would have, you talk about a satire, something you would have laughed at. I think about the movie Idiocracy. We say, well, the world's turning more and more like that, and that movie is hilarious to me, but if I woke up and the world was exactly like that and I watched that movie, I don't know if I'd find it as funny. You know what I mean? Right. And that's kind of where I'm kind of feeling with this movie.
That's the irony of Idiocracy, because when I met, what's her name? Minnie Riperton's daughter.
Oh, yeah. Now I can't think of her name. I love her.
I'm sorry.
Minnie Riperton.
Minnie Riperton.
And when I met her, I said, oh, wow, I was just watching Idiocracy recently. She said, oh, is that because Donald Trump is running for president? Because this was a few years ago. But it's true.
Well,
we
that
do
movie's
live
a
in
classic
an
before
type world, Right
yeah,
now.
but if it was like, it's still kind of, that movie is still, we see elements of it now, but it's not like that's exactly what's going on now, which is kind of what Dredd felt like to me. It's still a heightened ridiculousness to it. Whereas this movie, its ridiculousness has been kind of eradicated. You know, that's something that I would have picked up on then and stuff. It's like this isn't. I can't find the humor in it or the commentary in it because it's just too much like. And I can't even see around the commentary because it's too much like what's going on now.
That's
so,
deep. And
Maya Rudolph is her name. That's what that's funny to me.
I think that's valid what you're saying. Like, you can't enjoy a movie if it looks too much like the world we live in. And
it doesn't really, it's not able to acknowledge that because that's not what its intention was, you know? So it's like, I can't say that it's making a commentary on that because, you know, it's it's kind of hard to say.
I get what y'all
they
are
should have
saying,
had that girl
at
run.
the same time, I can't hold that against them.
Girl running.
Yeah.
I get what you guys are saying, and I think that's a valid criticism. But I can't hold that against the movie. There's no way they can be held accountable for things that, you know, happen after the movie's made.
Right.
Years after, you know, that are only coincidental at best, you know.
And maybe if the gray area payoff was maybe a little bigger, I don't know. It's kind of nice that it was so small and subtle in a way. You know, like, you know, Idiocracy has a bigger payoff. You know, he becomes the most mediocre, intelligent guy, and they start building a society towards that. So it's
uncomfortable to me because there's been many times where I've seen Donald Trump do and say things. Yeah. And
I'll say President Camacho. I'd rather have President Camacho, honestly. So he's kind of worse. But not everything is on. I mean, he's kind of like just a certain segment of that has come to bear, not the entire society, which is this. So I don't mean to go on to, I get where you're coming from, Hamilton. I kind of wish I did know more of the comic and saw this movie before, like this past year, to appreciate it more. I do appreciate it. You know, I did enjoy it on a certain level, but like I said, there's just that element that just threw me. So I'm gonna wrap this up. You guys have final words? I'm out.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I just wanted to try to defend it.
So that's Dredd. I mean, it's a really, now this is a movie that you really should, I think people should check out and let us know what you think. It's at this time period, does the movie still have the same impact on you? Does it not have an impact on you? It is a good movie. It is a well-made movie and a well-told story with interesting characters and good performances and some pretty good special effects for a movie you can tell maybe didn't have the biggest budget. So see it. Let us know in the comments, and we out.
We out.
We out. I'm sorry.
It's It's all right. And you're not even, you know, we can't even sync because the sound is delayed anyway. Oh, we out. Bye.